Good morning, everybody. I'm beginning a men's online Bible study on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And this Bible study is going to be on Romans. And I'm going to follow Pastor Bob's outline where he teaches on Romans every Sunday beginning this Sunday. This Sunday will be Romans chapter 1, verses 1 through 7. And so I'm making this weekly video to kind of prepare us, not only for the Bible study that I'll be leading, but also to complement and promote Pastor Bob's sermons. You can hear his sermons every Sunday at clcfamily.net, live sermons. And you can also, they're also recorded so you can listen to it afterwards. And then you can also download a sermon application sheet. So today, I want to introduce the series on Romans by reading from Max Lucado's book, In the Grip of Grace. I think it's terrific. It helped me so much. But this book explains Romans 1 through 8 so well. And Romans itself explains the gospel. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, what the disciples, the followers of Jesus, didn't understand right away after Jesus' death, life, death, and resurrection. And then Romans plays that all out. The book of Romans is sometimes called the fifth gospel. And we also learn how it applies directly to our lives. So here's an introduction from the book by Max Lucado. And this introduction, I think, is kind of autobiographical. He's a very famous preacher. But here's what he wrote. My qualifications for writing a book on grace is the clothing I wear. Let me explain. For years, I owned an elegant suit, complete with coat, trousers, even a hat. I considered myself quite dapper in the outfit and was confident that others agreed. The pants were cut from cloth of my own good works, sturdy fabric of deeds done and projects completed. Some studies here, some sermons there. Many people complimented my trousers, and I confess I tended to hitch them up in public so people would notice them. The coat was equally impressive. It was woven together from my convictions. Each day I dressed myself in deep feelings of religious fervor. My emotions were quite strong, so strong, in fact, that I was often asked to model my cloak of real zeal in public gatherings to inspire others. Of course, I was happy to comply. While there, I'd also display my hat, a feathered cap of knowledge formed with my own hands from the fabric of personal opinion. I wore it proudly. Surely God is impressed with my garments, I often thought. Occasionally, I strutted into God's presence so he could compliment the self-tailored wear. He never spoke. His silence, well, that must mean he admires me, I convinced myself. But then my wardrobe began to suffer. The fabric of my trousers grew thin. The best works started coming unstitched. I began leaving more undone than done. What little I did was nothing to boast about. No problem, I thought. I'll just work harder. But working harder was a problem. There was a hole in my coat of convictions. My resolve was threadbare. A cold wind cut into my chest. I reached up to pull my hat down firmly, and the brim ripped off in my hands. Over a period of few months, my wardrobe of self-righteousness completely unraveled. I went from tailored gentleman's apparel to beggar's rags, fearful that God might be angry at my tailored suit, my tattered suit. I did my best to stitch it together again and cover my mistakes, but the cloth was so worn out, and the wind was so icy. I gave up. I went back to God. Where else could I go? On a wintry Thursday afternoon, I stepped into the Lord's presence, not for applause, but for warmth. And my prayer was feeble. I feel naked, I said. The answer came, you are, and you have been for a long time. What he did next, I'll never forget. He spoke, I have something to give you. He gently removed the remaining threads I was wearing. He picked up a robe, a regal robe, the clothing of his own goodness, and he wrapped it around my shoulders. His words to me were tender. My son, you are clothed now with Christ. Though I had sung the hymn 1,000 times, I finally understood the words. Dressed in his righteousness alone, faultless to stand before the throne. Then Lucado writes, I have a hunch that many of you know what I'm talking about. You've got a handmade wardrobe yourself. You've sewn your garments. You're sporting your religious deeds. And already you've noticed a tear in the fabric. Before you start stitching yourself together, I'd like, says Lucado, to share some thoughts with you on the greatest discovery of my life, the grace of God. So that's what we'll be studying. I encourage you to read Romans 1 through 7. I'll even attach this to the sending so you can read it. God bless you, everyone. See you soon. Bye-bye.